All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. May 9th, we got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. Yesterday, we have a pretty good day. We go 6-3. Our only losers being Danny Jansen, which we had to sweat out till the end of the game. The Blue Jays Angels first 5, that happened pretty quickly. And then Spencer Steer kind of had to sweat out as well. So even some of the misses were okay looks, but some really good winning looks there with the Red Sox money line. We'll take the cha-ching. The White Sox team total under. We'll take the cha-ching. We'll spare the chings for the rest. We also had Curtis Mead, who ends up getting pinch hit for. The Blue Jays come back and win that one for us. And then the Braves and Reds first 5 under comes through as well. But yeah, pretty decent night. That Lennon Sosa was a sweat because in the first at-bat, he gets a hit. And then I was like, oh, great. For the rest of the game, we got to worry about it. But based on that White Sox offense, all we had to worry about was the hit, not the runs or the RBIs because of what they ended up not scoring, right? So yeah, decent night, 6-3 yesterday. Let's do it again today on this Friday slate. There are some really good series kicking off here, and some good games on the slate. So guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, keep dropping your bangers down below. I've said this in multiple videos recently, but I'm really noticing it in the NBA and MLB videos, but I guess I should say MLB specifically because there's more angles to go in terms of an angle of attack because of all the games, and NBA is kind of smaller. But I'm seeing some plays in there that I'm like, huh. And then when you give me your little blurb as to why you like that play, it's stuff that I wouldn't even think to look at. And I think that that's so cool, and that's what's really cool about sports betting, right? It's like there's so many different ways to win and lose, but there's so many different angles you can take to get to a potential outcome that's really cool to me. So keep dropping your plays down in the comments. You're helping me out, and you're also helping a bunch of other people out that might want to tail it. So yeah, keep doing that. Let's jump into game number 1 here. We have Pittsburgh taking on Atlanta. Pittsburgh plus 120 on the money line kind of makes sense just based on their offense. Their offense, let me read you off their last 5 games in terms of runs for. 1-0-3-1-0. Atlanta, I guess it's not all that much better, but it's better for sure. 4-4-2-3-5. On the season, Atlanta is scoring 4.03 runs per game. Pittsburgh 3.11. On the mound, we have Bryce Elder going up against Bailey Falter. The one thing I will say is Bryce Elder does like to keep the ball on the ground. He's got a 1.75 ground ball to fly ball rate this year. On the road, 1.87. So that is definitely good. We have a decent amount of righty bats in this Pittsburgh lineup, 2.2 in terms of ground ball to fly ball rate. When I see something like that, I start to look at a first 5 under. And don't fear the under, ladies and gentlemen. The T is now live over on fademe.store. I'm going to lean towards the first 5 under because then you have Falter, who's actually been pretty damn good at home. And in terms of these two teams, 3-0-2 to the under 5 in the first 5 in their last 5 is Atlanta. And then 4-0-1. So there are a couple pushes in there to the under 5 in the first 5. You can get that under 5 right now at -130. I think that's decent value. You want plus money? Go 4.5. I'm not in desperate need of the plus money here, especially when out of the 10 games between the two, we have 3 pushes. So, ultimately those would be losses if we went 4.5. So I'm going to go first 5 under 5. In terms of a money line spot here, I would just say that Pittsburgh offense is just so bad that I can't help but take a peek at Atlanta. Do I want to back Bryce Elder? Not so much, but honestly, he's been mediocre, right? Whereas Falter has had his ups and downs. If this is a down game for him, Atlanta could put up a decent number against him. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Braves as well as that first 5 under. In terms of player props, I believe we had one in this spot. It was, of course, an under, which I'm still getting crap in the comments for. But guys, it's working, right? It's a long MLB season. We will obviously change process and implement new strategies as the season goes on. But a month and a couple weeks into the season, don't hate on me for sticking to the lane that is working right now. It's like we're driving in the left lane, flying down the highway. No cops in sight. But I do like McCutchen here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's going to get the slider and the sinker and the fastball. Hits the slider poorly, hits the fastball poorly. The sinker, okay. But Bryce Elder, even with that sinker, likes to keep it down and away to right-handed bats. McCutchen likes it kind of middle of the zone inside. Hopefully that's not the case today. Hopefully Elder sticks to what he does. So yeah, don't mind McCutchen, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Yes, this is a game in which we like the first 5 under and under hits, runs, and RBIs. It's kind of what we've been doing all year. Moving on to Detroit taking on Texas. This one I'm kind of conflicted on because I do think that Detroit's the side. They're coming off of 4 straight wins. They did sweep Colorado in Colorado. Texas coming off of, losing the, not exactly having the best series, losing the series against the Red Sox. They've lost 7 of their last 10. The odds, though, are a little like, yikes. You know what I mean? Yes, we have Tariq Skubal on the mound, and that is why we have such great numbers, but it's Corbin, Skubal, massive advantage to the Tigers. Tigers offense, Texas offense, massive advantage to the Tigers. Bullpen, massive advantage to the Tigers. So that is why we're seeing these odds where they are. If you could round it out and somehow get Detroit first 5 run line minus 0.5 for something decent in terms of odds, maybe that's the direction I would go in, or we could take a peek at maybe Texas team total under in the first 5, just kind of totally backing Skubal. He's going to throw a lot of changeups, a lot of fastballs, sinker, slider he'll mix in. Realistically, there's nothing other than the sinker, which he does throw, I think it's 22% of the time, that Texas hits well. Like, it's just that sinker, and he'll keep that one on the ground. From the other side of things, though, you do have Corbin, who's going to throw the sinker and the slider, the cutter as well. The cutter, the Tigers hit well. The sinker and the slider, not so much. So maybe you start to look at a full game under, but Detroit's offense can kind of, rue the day themselves. And they've been scoring a decent amount of runs. And then a really good test of a team is when they go to Coors, can they put up a huge number? Because that's the name of the game right out there. And they did. 8, 10, and 11 runs scored there. Now, 2 of them were in the same day. They played a doubleheader yesterday. Is it a bad spot for them? They've played, I think, 9. They might have played 10 straight away games. Now they're coming back home. Sure, maybe it's not the best spot for them, but I do think Skubal can at least go out there and deal, right? So, yeah, maybe we look at Texas team total under right now in terms of odds. Let's make sure to get an updated number for that. If we look at their team total under, it's probably under, like, I don't even know if this is worth taking because the total's so low. Under 2.5 for plus money. That is tough. That's the direction I'd lean in. That's probably the only thing I ultimately end up touching from a game pick perspective. But I think we can all admit that is a ballsy play. That is total trust in, which is kind of fair, total trust in Skubal. A player prop. We're going to go right to another hits, runs, and RBI under. I like this one, Wyatt Langford. I don't know if we get down on this one. He doesn't hit the changeup well, which is what Skubal's been throwing, but the fastball and sinker, which are 2 massive pitches for him, he does hit fairly well. So we might stick away from this one. He also is batting 400 against him in 6 plate appearances, so maybe we stick away from that one. Everything we talked about is going to be tough to get to in this game because I feel like the odds have beat us in the race. You know what I mean? But what I will say, and let me talk to you guys about Outlier, just for a quick sec. Outlier, my favorite research tool on the market. They've beat us to the race, but I can kind of show you how and why I like Wyatt Langford, or why I considered him and how I found him, right? So if we head over here, I'll share my screen. By the way, guys, link to Outlier down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You get 7 days free. I'm going to show you 2 things here. I'm going to show you a little quick process. It's not as detailed as I like, as I'm doing on the back end, but a quick process in how I'm finding these plays and player props. But then I'll also show you these EV boost, arbitrage, and middle bets portions for Outlier Premium. So Outlier Regular, $19.99 per month after a 7-day free trial, which is obviously a great deal. You get everything that I'm about to show you. If you do want to up your ante a little bit and get the EV boost, arbitrage, and middle bets, Outlier Pro, that's an available option as well for a little bit more. But right now, all we have filtered to is odds saying, okay, minus 165 is the lowest we'll go. And we have it filtered to this game. And I'm going through and looking for some good hit rates, right? We have your last 5, last 10, last 20, head-to-head this year, last year. Going through here, and I like, obviously, Skubal in this spot. And all of a sudden I say, okay, okay, Wyatt Langford, here is a Texas Ranger, meaning he's going to be getting Scooble a decent amount, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's hit it in 7 of 10 this year, and 7 of his last 10, and 67% of his games, against his Tiger squad, which if we flip it here, you could see that. So we look at him on the season, you can see, okay, he's been up and down. Scroll down a little bit, and this is where it gets really, really juicy, guys. This is what I think Outlier specializes in, is having everything in one place. You can really make a good decision. You have pitcher to batter details and matchup history. So, okay, 6 plate appearances, 400 average, 500 on base percentage, 33% K rate, though. You see Langford against left-handed pitchers, because that's what obviously Scooble is, right? Okay, well, his average drops from 279 to 241. His WRC plus, weighted runs created, does go up, though. And then Scooble, okay, well, some of his numbers look a little bit worse against right-handed bats. You get down here to the changeup. Boom, that's what I'm liking to see. His WOBA drops in the changeup, but like I just said to you guys, fastball, sinker, everything gets a little bit better. If we get to the slider and the curve, obviously we have some good stuff there. Remember when I said about the McCutchen play, I was like, oh, he likes it down and in, and, we might see the pitches high and inside from Elder or whatever I said. This is the heat map, which is cool. So that fastball that he ends up hitting pretty well, you could see he actually hits it really well when it's down and low. Scooble's going to throw it high and outside and just up in the zone to right-handed bats. You get to the sinker, he's going to throw it down and inside. Langford likes to hit it low and outside. So this could be a potential play, even though we do have some red numbers here and some green numbers down here. Where Scooble, and he should be able to locate it, where Scooble can locate it, he should be pretty damn good, right? So I am considering this still under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. They also have the EV screen, which, guys, if you don't know what this is, it pretty much is taking a bunch of plays in the market, and you can compare them to all of the other books out there. You could set your own weighing system in terms of what books you want to value. Really cool stuff if you do want to kind of take on sports betting from a mathematical approach. This is an absolute tool that will help you win long term, I'm telling you. So go ahead and check out Outlier, guys. Again, that link will be down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. We don't promote anything we don't use ourselves, or we don't back anything, and we've literally worked with Outlier. Damn, I almost think it's been almost 3 years. I know it's been 2 years, but like almost 3 years. It's crazy. One of my favorite partners out there, and honestly, this tool just keeps getting better and better. Go check it out for 7 days. I'm telling you, if you're hearing this and you're on the fence, trust me for a second. Check it out for 7 days. You don't like it? Boom. No harm, no foul. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's get back into these games here. Washington taking on St. Louis. I did say there's a lot of good games on today and whatnot. This is a good matchup, but I don't know if it really has the value of coming at it from any sort of angle, I guess. Like, I'm struggling to find stuff I like in this one. I would say I'll give the home team maybe the edge here, and it is a pick. I'm at -110, so yeah, I like that spot. I'm going to lean towards, I would say, Washington with Mitchell Parker on the mound, a lefty. This is a St. Louis team that's good, but they do struggle against lefties. Eric Fetty's on the mound for St. Louis. He's been not all that great. He does throw the sinker as his main pitch, and this is not exactly a team that hits the sinker all that well. He goes to the slider. Washington also doesn't really hit the slider that well, but if he does throw the cutter, they should be able to hit that. My one concern, and though lefties matter in terms of St. Louis righty-lefty splits, Mitchell Parker throws a ton of fastballs, and I mean a ton of fastballs, over 50% of his pitch arsenal. This St. Louis team, number 2 in the last 30 days in terms of runs above average per 100 fastballs seen. So that's a little worrisome. But a little worrisome because, again, they still have to hit the ball against a left-handed pitcher, and they are on the road. So, like I said, not my favorite spot. Washington has scored like barely anything, and then all of a sudden they have a decent game, their last game against Cleveland. They're now, they are at home, I guess, whereas St. Louis is on the road for the first time in like a week, I believe, and they're on a little bit of a win streak. It's kind of just a contrarian play. So I'll lean towards Washington and the over, but not that much that I'm racing to the window to get down in this one, to be honest. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Milwaukee. Jose Quintana on the mound going up against Zach Littell. I would say this is definitely a Quintana edge in terms of the pitching. He was pitching really, really, really well, and then he got smacked around by Chicago, the Cubs, not the White Sox. That's a very important distinguishing factor because I'm about to let him off the hook for that. That's one of the best offenses in the league, right? Littell, on the other hand, really not much to say. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, he's been so bad this year. He hasn't. He's just been... man, like he's been Zach Littell. Quintana, 24 plate appearances against this current Tampa Bay roster, 25% K rate, 0% walk rate, expected batting average against of 280, but an expected WOBA down at 271, which is pretty good. I think that he keeps the ball on the ground here because the Tampa Bay team loves to hit the ball on the ground as well. I don't really think that they come out there and score a bunch of runs. We do have wind blowing out, but a 50% chance of rain, 85 degrees, so I don't necessarily love the idea of an under, but with rain, keeping the ball on the ground, I think that things get a little messy for Tampa Bay. So I'm going to lean towards the Brewers here in this one. They last played, I want to say, in last season, and the Brewers took that series. They only scored, I think Tampa Bay scored like 3 runs in the entire series. Does that matter? No, but Milwaukee's playing some decent baseball, right? And they're coming off of a loss 2 days ago, a bad loss against Houston. Tampa Bay has lost 3 straight. They get swept by Philly. The situation just seems like it's a Milwaukee spot, and you're giving me the better pitcher. I'll also throw in the fact that left-handed pitcher has been where Tampa Bay has absolutely struggled, right? Even yesterday, right? They went up against Jesus Luzardo, who he pitched okay against them. I think they scored 2 runs through a few innings, but they got the majority of their runs late in the game and then in extras. So you seeing them scoring 6 runs, don't get confused that they really got to Luzardo. He had a fine, it wasn't his best, but 5 in the third, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. He did let up a home run. Milwaukee, decent price. I like them. I think they got the better pitcher and the better offense in this spot. Maybe Milwaukee first 5 because the bullpen, I would say that Tampa Bay's got a better bullpen, but they used a lot of arms yesterday in that game. So I don't mind the full game for Milwaukee either, but just in like stats without worrying about who's healthy, who's not, better bullpen. You can't necessarily just go off of that, right? You got to look at who pitched yesterday, and pretty much the most of their important arms have gone 2 of the last 3 days or yesterday for sure. So yeah, Milwaukee, maybe an under in general. I mean, because of the rain, but kind of on the fence. I don't mind an over either. So yeah, I guess that's kind of crazy, but I think Milwaukee is my only thing that I'm looking at in this one. If you have a strong take on the total, do not let me talk you off it. And then I don't have any player props as of right now in this one. All right, Cleveland taking on Philadelphia, and just to jump right to it, I'm going to start looking at Philadelphia on the first 5 money line in this one. Yes, we kind of even just talked about it with Tampa Bay. Maybe it's not the best situation in terms of them going, having to play an extra innings game yesterday in Tampa Bay, now going to Cleveland, no days rest, whereas Cleveland's at home after a road trip. They had the day off yesterday. Everything would tell you that this is a Cleveland spot, yet they're still plus money and plus 108 on some books. So I think that that's very telling as to where we believe this game's going to come out in terms of who has the advantage. It's Gavin Williams versus Aaron Nola. Williams probably has some numbers that look better than Nola, but overall, I think that this is a better pitcher on the Philadelphia side of things. We're going to get the knuckle curve, the changeup, the sinker, the fastball out of him. Not much that Cleveland hits all that well in his pitch mix, whereas you flip it over to the Gavin Williams side of things, 55.5%. So, round it up to 56% of his pitches, and we're seeing the fastball. This Philadelphia team, top 7 in the last 30 days at hitting that fastball. I like the spot. They do hit lefties better than they do righties, but not by like a crazy amount. You still have some of those, leaders at the top of their order that hit this pretty well. So yeah, I like the idea of Philadelphia going out there and winning the first 5. The reason I don't go full game is kind of twofold. First off, I would honestly say that this is a pretty decent Cleveland bullpen. They had the day off. Things could look okay for them, right? Secondarily, we just had Philadelphia play in that extra innings game, taxing their bullpen. So I'm just going Nola versus Williams, Philly's offense for 5 innings versus Cleveland's offense for 5 innings. I think we're going to have some winds blowing in, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, I would also say Philly team total over, but we want to look more into that weather, because if we do have a lot of wind blowing in, I'd rather them just on the first 5, go get the job done, bet it and forget it. You know what I mean? Let me make sure we didn't have any player props in this one because I don't have that up in front of me. I don't believe we did, but no player props in this one. We had actually, that's not in this game. Yeah, no player props in this one. All right, Mets taking on the Cubs. Maybe I'm a little crazy for this one, but I think that, it looks like there's going to be bad weather here in Citi Field, right? A lot of rain, a lot of wind. With Tyon on the mound, Clay Holmes on the mound, there's no question as to who's having a better season, but I would argue that these offenses are pretty comparable, right? So I'm going to sound the psycho alert alarm. Not that I really want to put my hard-earned bread on this, but you're getting a Mets team who really isn't playing the most consistent baseball right now. Like, they were on fire, now they've kind of just tinkered off a little bit. against the Cubs team that's playing just as well. Yes, they may not have the advantage in terms of the pitching or the bullpen, but you could make an argument that they have the better offense. Clay Holmes throws a ton of sliders. This is the number one team last 30 days hitting the slider on the Chicago side of things. Screw it. Give me Cubs money line. You're getting really good odds at plus 135 right now. I just don't think the price makes sense on the Mets side of things. So whether it's worthy of the psycho alarm or not, we sounded it. Psycho alert alarm or not, we sounded it. Give me the Cubs plus the money. In terms of the total, I guess I'll have to trust how bad that weather is. This thing's already bumped down to 7.5. I'll lean towards the under. And then no player props as of right now. We went through that one pretty quickly, but it's pretty much just a price lean. Like, I don't think the Mets should be that favored. I think this Cubs offense, especially losing, 2 or 3 straight games, they should be ready to get back into the thick of things. All right, White Sox taking on Miami. Kind of similar to that Washington and St. Louis series. I don't know how much I want to invest into this one. We do have Max Myers on the mound, who I would say is looking good, going up against Bryce Wilson. I wouldn't say that he's looking all that good. But again, now you're getting a Miami squad, which on the road, they've been obviously pretty tough. At home, they've been okay, but you're getting them for minus 140, mid minus 140s. Doesn't that sound like it's a little bit too crazy? And even I say Max Meyer has looked okay. He has 2 straight starts of just absolute crap, right? Now, he did go up against the Athletics, who got to him, Seattle, who's showing that they're a decent offense. So sure, there are some sort of excuses to be made, but he's had some really good starts this year, but he's had some really poor ones. Do I think the White Sox get to him? Hell no. So he's probably going to be okay, but I don't like the price. I don't think that we have any value in this game because of how bad the White Sox are. So I'll go Miami. I'll go Chicago team total under in terms of side and total. That's about it. I hate to go through these 2 games really quickly, but I'm not going to fake what I like or my confidence for the content. I say that to you guys all the time. Now we got Kansas City taking on the Sox, and I have to fight my bias every time we talk Red Sox because, and honestly, even if you guys aren't Red Sox fans, I think you'll understand my struggle because I'm sure a lot of teams have been in this situation before, but the Red Sox certainly are this year, where they're so much better in terms of what they have and the sounds weird saying, but the fun toys in terms of players that they have versus their record. They're just 1 game above 500. They're struggling when they're on the road. They're, mediocre. It's struggling in both places, right? So it's really hard for me to fight against my urge to want to roll with the Red Sox. And we did that today. And honestly, I do think that there's still a scenario here in which we get to the Red Sox. And again, I tell you this story about fighting the urge to be biased and whatnot, because I want to make sure I come into the Red Sox plays unbiased, which whether I do or not, I guess that's up for you to debate if I provide enough reasons why I like the Red Sox. But we do have Hunter Dobbins on the mound, who has been I don't know, what do you want to make of him, right? It's a 3-point mid-3s ERA. He has 3 starts on the season. Whip's not all that tremendous. He's gone up against St. Louis, Minnesota, and the White Sox, so not the best offenses. But I don't think that we can sit here and act like Kansas City is a really good offense. They looked okay last series, in the series before that, but they played Tampa Bay, Baltimore, and the White Sox. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, normally you'd sit here and be like, oh, that's a good win of a series. But those teams aren't even firing on all cylinders, right? So this one makes me scratch my head a little bit. The reason I end up liking the Red Sox is due to the fact that we have Lorenzen on the mound. And I think this Red Sox offense is, I don't want to say starting to get going, but 6 runs, 5 runs, and back-to-back games, they're starting to hit. And even Tanner Houck and Brian Bayo, it's not like they pitched their you-know-what off. The offense ended up coming through for them. So slightly into the Red Sox here in this spot. If this was anything worse than what we're getting at the minus 1, I think it's minus 110 right now, price, even minus 115, I'm probably off of it. But I just don't want to get wrapped up in, the Royals are back. It's no, they've played a really bad schedule. If you like the Royals here, I don't necessarily want to talk you off it because there is probably a pitching advantage on their side of things. And I guess we could even say a bullpen advantage because this Red Sox bullpen ain't all that much to talk about. But I don't really think there's a question in terms of who has the better offense, and that would be the Red Sox. In terms of what we have from a total, maybe the way that we look at this would just be say, okay, well, you don't think that there's a pitching advantage and whatnot, but maybe we just look at Red Sox team total over, because I'm talking heavily about their offense, right? So maybe their team total over 3.5 would be how to play it, or the full game over, because again, if you think Kansas City's offense is starting to get going, that's probably the spot that you'd lean towards against a pitcher with not that much experience. All right, Astros taking on Cincinnati. We have Hunter Brown on the mound, who is having a, does that rhyme? Hunter Brown on the mound? I guess if I slur it. Hunter Brown on the mound. against Nick Martinez. Hunter Brown's having a fantastic season, which it shouldn't really shock anybody, right? Like, dude is a very good pitcher, but some of these numbers he's putting up, I mean, we can probably throw out his last start because I was against, who did he pick? It was a bad team. I don't really remember, and he didn't actually have the best of games, but they got to him late, so he was looking good. But needless to say, he's going up against Nick Martinez, who also is kind of looking pretty damn good as of late. I'll give him that credit, but there's not really a comparison to make here. I do think that Brown is the far better pitcher. The only thing I would worry about now, if you like Cincinnati in this spot today, this is kind of your saving grace. Hunter Brown, we know, is going to throw the fastball. He's going to be good with it, and he's going to trust it. Cincinnati, there's no better team in the last 30 days at hitting the fastball in terms of runs above average per the 100 fastballs seen. So I do think that is a slight little angle for them overall, but, knuckle curve, changeup, sinker, all these pitches will struggle. So even if a guy like him who's good, even if his fastball's not working, he'll probably be able to resort to other pitches. So this is going to be Houston or nothing for me. I don't love the number that we're getting at minus 175 is your best one right now. But I could also convince myself of a first five, maybe like a first five run line, because of what I would consider a pitching advantage. The problem here is that you do have a fully rested, and I do think it's a problem, a fully rested Houston bullpen against an unbelievably taxed Cincinnati bullpen. So it's like you want that full game. I just don't know if I like the minus 1.5 in this case, because what if, and again, you guys know my fear of, or if you don't, I'll explain it again, my fear of taking that home team minus 1.5 is that, yes, you might be getting a decent number like plus 135 today, but, and it's a big but, like we all like, most of us like, what if they're up 1 going into the 9th, Cincinnati doesn't score any runs, game's over. We don't get that last at-bat from Houston. So that's kind of tough to look at it from that perspective, right? So that's what I would roll with in terms of a side. In terms of a total, yeah, I don't mind the under because, again, I did say that Nick Martinez has looked okay. I think this is a 4-3 type of a game, which, again, makes it tough to pull the trigger on Houston minus 1.5 because it'd need to be 5-3, it would need to be 4-2, and I almost see more ways of getting to 4-3 than I do the 2-run score. So this might be a game that we like and want to back Hunter Brown, and nothing really comes of it in terms of final plays. Minnesota and San Francisco. Making me pick between Jordan Hicks or Chris Paddock is diabolical. I do think that there's one team that at least we can say has the better offense, or at least the more upside, and surprisingly, you might be thinking I'm going to say Minnesota, but I'm going to say San Fran. This Minnesota offense is starting to look okay, but I do think San Francisco is a little bit better of a pitcher, and one saving grace I have from Jordan Hicks is he's going to throw the sinker about 55% of the time. This is Minnesota being the number 3 bottom team, so third to last in terms of hitting that sinker on in the last 30 days. This is a spot in which, I think both pitchers could get a little dicey. We have 2 good bullpens, though, so maybe it's like a first 5 over. That San Fran bullpen should be okay. Everyone had the day off yesterday. Minnesota, on the other side of things, has a pretty taxed bullpen. So I would say over in the first 5, over in the full game. And I guess because of, you're getting slight plus money at plus 101 on the San Francisco side of things, that's what I'd lean towards. But even me being like, I think San Francisco has the better offense, you could counter and say, no, Minnesota does, and make a few good arguments as to why. So this is kind of one where it's like rolling dice. I don't know if we are in the dice game today, but I'd go San Fran in the over, whether it's first 5 over or full game over. Colorado taking on San Diego. We have Sanzadella on the mound going up against Randy Vasquez. I mean, this is a really high total, but I still do think that there's a chance that San Diego could get some, decent offense rolling. They're going to see just a ton of fastballs from Sanzadella, and they should be able to hit that fairly well, especially with the top of their order. Tatis, Arias, Machado, and Merrill should be pretty damn good against the fastball. He's going to go to a slider, and that's where Tatis really has been good as well. So maybe there's a couple ways of going about this. I do think that we're priced out at actually getting anything down, but from a player prop perspective, look at some Tatis overs and then San Diego team total over. That's kind of how I would play the money line or giving them the advantage on the side. But again, like, you're paying a pretty hefty price. So unless you really are just willing to kind of throw a dart and hope that it sticks there, maybe this is another game where we might have a net pass for some good stuff. You'd have to assume that San Diego is going to score 7 runs today to really get a good team total over. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they won't, though. I think that this could be a spot in which they put up a big number. It's just a little bit too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do think they have a good offensive day, but it's almost like, yeah, they could have a good offensive day and score 6 runs, and it's like, what? We didn't even get to 6.5. So little tough there. In terms of a total, maybe a Colorado team total under. is what I was thinking, but, San Diego team total over I like a little bit more. This is a weird one, and I know I've said that about a lot of games on here, but I hope you guys realize, if you're like, what the hell, why are you even talking about it then? Like, you should realize that that's part of, if you like hearing me or entertained by or even feed into the information, right? Me being like, I'm not really sure about this one is like a take in and of itself, right? It tells you that I'm a little unsure, meaning there's kind of, like I said, a little bit of a gamble, a little bit of risk, dice rolling, that type of thing. So it's not like I'm just sitting here being like, I don't know. It's more so there's enough here, like the odds, like the price, like the line itself, making me question things. But if you question a bunch, it's probably not the best time to pull the trigger. All right, Angels taking on Baltimore here. We have the Angels who, have lost 7 of their last 10, but they've won 3 of their last 5. Let's give them a little bit of something there. Baltimore's lost 7 of the last 10. They've lost 5 straight. At some point, I do think Baltimore gets a little bit better, but would I put my money on it that it's today? Not so much. Now, it's Kyle Hendricks. Do I love him? No. But, he is going to throw a lot of sinkers. That's bad for Baltimore. He's going to throw a lot of changeups. That's bad for Baltimore. So via the price tag, you have the home team at plus, what is it? Plus 1, I think it was plus 130. Plus 125 now, so it has moved. You have the home team for plus 125 in somewhat of a decent spot. I'm going to lean towards the Angels on the money line. In terms of total, I don't mind the under because I'll tell you what, both these offenses stink out loud. And sure, one of these teams may have a good game because Sugano's gettable. Kyle Hendricks sure as hell is gettable, right? Neither one of these bullpens I'm trusting as far as I can throw them. But at the same time, are we really going to assume both of these teams in the same game have decent offensive nights? I don't know if I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, I think that these are 2 bad offenses that at least one of them is going to put up a stinker today. So give me the LA Angels and give me the under in this spot as well. Could have pulled the trigger on one of my favorite teams to roll with Arizona yesterday, but we couldn't get there. And also, I even kind of leaned towards the Dodgers, right? We did like the over. That didn't get there either, so I guess it's good that we stuck away from it. Today, we got Rodriguez on the mound. Eduardo Rodriguez going up against Roki Sasaki. He's been off to a rough start, but you know what? So were the Dodgers against left-handed hitters. The Dodgers, and I feel like Nostradamus predicted this, but at the same time, I feel like everyone in the world predicted this. They sucked against left-handed bats. I said at the beginning of the year, that was the time to fade them or consider fading them, yada, 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 but it won't be long until they're very good against left-handed bats. This team is now top 5 in virtually every category over the last 30 days against left-handed bats. So, yes, the Dodgers are fully back. The one thing I'll say is Roki Sasaki throws a ton of fastballs, a ton of splitters. He'll then go to the slider. This is a good Arizona team at hitting those fastballs, hitting those splitters. So, yeah, there is an argument to be made, but they're a little bit better against lefties than they are righties. So, today I think that the Dodgers get their get back. This is, essentially you're getting minus 115 right now, I think is the best. Plus 105. So, this is very much changed. I wonder why that has changed. Has someone been sitting out or something like that? We'll look more into that before actually rolling with it, but plus 105 for the Dodgers. Odds have switched just since getting the screenshot and the info from the dashboard this morning. I'm still going to lean towards the Dodgers in this spot. I think that is where I like it. The Dodgers. Getting plus money makes me a little bit even more excited because Eduardo Rodriguez, yes, he's a lefty, but I don't know if I really trust him all that much either, right? His stats against this Dodgers team aren't all that great either, and they've seen him a ton. 86 plate appearances against, and when I say this team, my bad, the players that are on the team. So anytime I reference against the current roster, tell you guys all the time, but it's worth saying over and over, it's against the guys that make up the roster. For example, Mookie Betts, who's on the Dodgers. If he saw Eduardo when he was on the Red Sox, it still counts towards these numbers. 86 plate appearances against, 23.3% K rate, 7% walk rate, so kind of mediocre there, but an average against a 329, an expected slugging 489, expected WOBA 351, so not all that great, right? I think that we might pull the trigger on the Dodgers here at plus 105 for the full game. I mean, they definitely, what I would consider, have the better bullpen, and I hate rolling against and betting against the one of the teams that I really do like in Arizona, but I would say the Dodgers have a better bullpen situation, as do they have the better offense, even with, Sasaki, who's kind of been struggling. Dodgers money line plus 105, that's probably going to be a final play. In terms of the total, I guess I would still lean towards the over, because even though I like the Dodgers in this spot, what am I liking most about them? The fact that they should be able to get some hits, right, and score some runs. Seattle taking on Toronto. Toronto coming through for us late in the game yesterday to cash that money line. for us as they beat the Angels 8-5. Seattle's playing some really good baseball. They're somehow, some way a good offense. You remember this offseason when everyone was like, wow, they have such good pitching, but they didn't address their offensive woes and all that. Like, this team has been fantastic in terms of their offense. This season, last 30 days, but still pretty similar to this season, right? 5th in average, 2nd in WRC+, 2nd in on-base, 3rd in OPS, 4th ISO, 3rd slugging. Toronto's offense stinks out loud, but what I will say, I think the Gauze is back. I think that he's been having a really good year. He had a bumpy little go against Houston, and then we have that up. Yes, we do, against the Yankees. But then he bounced right back. 6 innings pitched, a 1-hitter, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 0 earned against Cleveland. By the way, I feel like I just rattled that stat line off so well. No stuttering, no ums. Credit to me. Trumpets and crowd noise. Let's cut it. All right. But, I do think that Gausman against this Seattle team should be pretty good. He has 115 plate appearances against the current roster. Get these numbers. 31.3% K rate. That is fantastic. 5.2% walk rate. That's very good. Average against of 187. You're probably like, all right, well, what's the expected batting average against? 189. And a slugging against, expected slugging, 384. A WOBA against of 272. Okay, what's the expected? It's probably up, right? Expected WOBA 266. You flip it over. We haven't even talked about Luis Castillo against a bad Toronto offense. Luis Castillo, 120 plate appearances against, 20.8% K rate, expected batting average against of 218, expected WOBA 274. Give me the first 5 under all day long in this one. Really do like that spot for this. If I had to pick a side, I'm going to trust the better offense to win the game. I'll go with the Mariners, but I'll tell you right now, I was just on the fence because I do like Gausman a lot. He's one of those guys like Zach Gallen that I can always convince myself to roll with. But given the fact that, actually, I wouldn't even talk anyone off of taking Toronto today. I'm going to trust the better offense, not necessarily to score a bunch of runs because I do think it's a low-scoring game, right? But to get the timely hits when they need them is probably how I'd phrase it. But if anyone's on Toronto today, I really don't mind that at all. I would not argue someone if we're having a beer at a bar and I say, hey, I like the Mariners, and you say, hey, I like Toronto. I would say, all right, cheers. Best of luck. First 500, though, is definitely what I like the most in this one. In terms of player props, let's make sure that I don't have any in this one. We hid that screen for a second. Boom, there it is. No player props in this one either. So it's going to be first 5 probably or nothing in terms of final plays because I like that a lot more than I do Seattle. A's taking on the Yanks here. This Athletics team, I don't really know if they've impressed me or if I've been right about them. Like, a lot of people were so high on the A's, and they started the year well. They got kind of bad. Then they started to turn it on a little bit, and now they're really in what I would consider somewhat of a limbo. They're 20-18 on the season. But in terms of this game, they have Osvaldo. We got that one. Osvaldo Beto on the mound going up against Will Warren. Will Warren has been like it's been like a gladiator in my mind this season. He's like been in these tough situations. He's stuck it out. His numbers are pretty mediocre, but he has some good numbers. If you look at it from different perspectives. The reason I'm going to say I like the Yankees today, and they are big favorites, so I don't think that we actually get this one down, especially with Will Warren on the mound. He's fantastic against righties, and we do have a decent amount of righties in that lineup for at the A's. I want to say they have 6 righties projected to go in the lineup, but Osvaldo Beto also has very much been struggling, and I think that that's going to kind of get him caught up. But again, I don't think that the minus 140 is really all that worth it. I would say that I'll continue to look into it, and maybe we can convince ourselves of a Yankees play, but as of right now, it's kind of sitting there like, okay, I get it, and I do believe that that is the side to be on, especially the way that the Yankees, looked against the Padres, right? Like they ended up winning that series. They grinded one game out. They scored, it was like 10 runs in 1 inning in game number 2 of that series. But the Yankees still have kind of looked like the price that we're paying, which minus 145 is that type of price. You're hoping for them to stomp them. And like, what if the Athletics offense just get to Will Warren, right? A little worrisome there. The total is way, way up there, which means that we obviously have some decent situation. And it makes sense. We have some wind. We have nearly 90 degrees. So maybe an over is worth looking at here. I was hoping we could potentially get to a Yankees team total over, but I don't love the idea of rolling with, I think it was at 5.5. Yeah, 5.5. They've only done that 2 of their last 10 times this year. So Yankees money line or nothing for me in this one, and then no player props that I'm loving as of right now either. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Most of the time I say that, we do get the positive comments and whatnot, but we've been getting a couple comments of people being like, you say that too much, and it's like, that is true. I do say it a lot. I don't know if too much is the right word, because I don't think I can ever be too appreciative, especially like given the fact that I do this for a living now in the last year and few months, right? So I am appreciative. I know that sometimes it throws a wrench in the video when I go on a rant about being thankful, but if it comes up, it comes up. So I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone that's hearing this now at the end of the video. I feel like that's the safe space. All the real ones, the OGs, are listening at the end of the video, and I kind of just speak my mind, right? But do appreciate it. We'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.